Hello everyone, in this video I'm going to use both Creative Flow and Random Flow add-on to create a um, sci-fi model. So Creative Flow is an effort to unify the Cuber and iStill's Pro add-on into a single add-on called Creative Flow, and I am about somewhere around 50 to 60% porting. So this is in edit mode and this is in object mode. And some functionalities from the previous add-ons will be removed or reducted if they're not uh, too useful in the current meta of things. And all of the ported functionalities will be, of course, updated and optimized. So instead of using pie menus, I've now used this kind of menu, much like random flow. So everything is categorized and in order. Okay, so the purpose really of Creative Flow or the two previous add-on, which is Cuber and iStores, is to let me quickly create relatively low-res Boolean models that I can use for my scenes. So I haven't had the Bevel functionality ported yet, but when it is ported, it will be simplified and only the important things are going to be kept. So much like radial symmetries in Cuber, this is now fast circle array in Creative Flow. So it's much simpler. So I made this because using this is not too so I need something simpler. So I just I created this one. It needs to have a face selection. So origin or 3D cursor. So it's simpler. With just this few options, you can do the whole functionality. Okay, so cursor to world and selection to cursor offset. So in the end, when this is finished, hopefully using Creative Flow and Random Flow add-on will be smooth. Creative Flow for creating the base mesh, and then Random Flow for the detailing if you want to. Okay, so let's start. So I'm going to create just a simple model, a crate for speed sake, for time's sake. So let's just create a crate to demo the changes I've done for the Creative Flow add-on for the ported functionalities from Cuber and iStill's Pro. So there might be some functionalities that will show an error because I'm still changing stuff in the script and some bugs may appear. Okay. So you can see they have extract faces and auto mirror, but we'll have subtle changes, of course, except for the auto mirror. This is just so you can use random flow by its own if you don't have the creative flow add-on. Okay, so let's start with draw faces. So draw poly, now draw faces, and now the UI is floating below the mouse cursor, and you can toggle between the different commands. So using this this design or this format, it will be easier for me to explain things once I finish the add-on and start making tutorials, video tutorials. So this is much simpler to explain rather than the old one, this one here. So I think with this one, because everything is categorized, it'll be much easier to explain. Okay, so let's create some detail here and here. Z, Y, oh, not Y, and X. Guess what? You can activate the Boolean in the second phase. One for difference or cut, two for union or add, three for intersect, and four for slice, which creates another object based on the overlapping shape. So I'm going to use just the cut for now, or difference. So I've yet to add the toggle for the solver, which is going to be fast or exact. Okay, so press space confirm, and you can still, of course, design the what the add-on is called calls the uh, draw objects. You can and from Ice Tools Pros edit draw modifiers, which is this way. So it is simplified now in Creative Flow and becomes this one here. Okay. So draw. So the purpose really is uh, speed. And not worrying too much about uh, anything else. Now we can probably manually duplicate this. Okay, so just relaxing and creating some crazy designs. So this is the this is still the without the Boolean modifiers being applied. This is still the original geometry, and this is with the geometry with all these Boolean objects. You can use Boolean ops and switch their display to bounds, much like the older functionality. Then control click to switch them to uh, from wire to bounds. So this is now wire, and we're gonna switch them back to bounds by control clicking on the command. Okay. Draw faces. I think it's going to be much faster now. I've also kept some are requesting the grid using grid placement for the draw, but I've opted to keep the uh the view the view method when placing the draw objects. Because I think in the end it's going to be much faster. Draw cuts. So everything is, think of this as like a modified, uh what's the add-on called? Um Modified bool tool, or a really modified bool tool in that, for that matter. So we can still, I think, shape this. Look at this. We can shape this when using view. What if this is not a perfect 45 degrees? So we can just use the shortcut Shift E to toggle the view by edge. So it's going to get this edge and orient it to the viewport. Okay. Shift E. Now we can press tab to straighten to use ortho, and then draw it like that. Also draw, I think, on this side here. Oops. So there are a lot of it's kind of like that. Actually, let's switch it up. Draw cut Shift E. There is an advantage to using the view based method. Uh, One, not a lot of there's not a lot of keys involved, and you just straight up draw using the view instead of orienting normal grids to the faces and all the stuff. So struct faces. We're going to deactivate the boolean. Shift this J and delete this. Draw a line. Don't forget to use the knife. And then since we already have the target by using the draw faces or extract faces on this box here, it's already the target. So boolean cut, and then this is an extract object, which means it has a mirror and solidify modifier, so we can deactivate this just like that. If you don't like the, the design, you can just remove it just like that. Okay. If you're planning for symmetry, draw past the symmetry line. 1, X, X, Y, and Z. X, Y, and Z. There we go. Going to create a holder here where a machine is supposed to hold it. Union, and then that Okay, and then some more design here. Okay, so we can apply this using the apply blade modifiers, or we can keep the oops, we we can keep the non-destructive nature of this and still use the run the flow add-on by let's just hide this. So this is the original geometry. We can still, but the run the flow add-on needs the real geometry in order to affect it. But in this case, we are not going to apply the Boolean modifier, so this is still the geometry. So going to use the extract faces instead. So it extract faces from applied geometry, which means the modifiers will be applied. So to mirror x, y, and z, and quad slice. Let's remove this and this, and create some interesting pattern with the topology, since the topology affects the randomization result. Depth to around 50, thickness to around 50 as well, and clip the center line to get rid of the center line. And just play with the panel seed to get the detail that you want. Can this method work with other add-ons? Of course. You just gotta have to extract the geometry. I think this is good. We'll just reduce the inset. There we go. Okay. And you can use this method to some people are complaining that I use the random flow too much. That's because I'm a programmer and I'm supposed to do that. So but I'm also a part modeler, so I also know the discipline about the relaxed areas on the model and areas of detail, so things like that. So, but when I'm using it all over the place, that means that I may be testing the script or that model will be used for very far away render. So none of those functionality and static rules will apply. Okay, let's try it somewhere else. We're going to just extract again. And this case, okay, can either use, I'm going to use random flow for this, but I can also use, of course, creative flow, but let's just try random flow. So tag the verts and panel screws, whoops, custom captive, tagged only, margin, whoops, use angle threshold. radius. There we go. And r- randomize rotation. Then you can get rid of the um, proxy, the extracted proxy mesh. Of course, you can still use creative flow for that, but you have to design the basic mesh later on. So draw faces. So I'm not going to use Boolean, so I'm going to deactivate it using B. T to reset the solidify offset and thickness. And then there. And then that. So it doesn't have apply mesh yet, but I'm going to use random flow. So you can design it. And then mirror it again. Okay, so that's how you can use the two add-ons for that same purpose. We should try the panels here as well. Extract faces. Oops. So okay, so we need to really push it in. And then extract the faces. There we go. Okay. There's still an error with the boolean right here. Oh, in this part, because I didn't push the two objects. There we go. So now I can extract it correctly. So extract beyond the certain line if you center line if you want to symmetrize it, and then symmetry Y and Z, and then we can rate variation in the topology to affect the randomization result, the randomized result. So let's try and look for something simpler. You can of course bake this detail and then just get rid of this geometry. There we go. Something simple. If you want to affect this with Boolean, you just have to close the mesh by selecting everything, pressing F. Now everything's closed. But to properly close the center line, you need to apply the mirror. Press select everything, press F, then reapply the mirror. Uh, re reestablish the mirror. Let's pick this one again, and let's try this final one. Extract faces, auto mirror X, Y, and Z. Let's use the new functionality in Grid Project to randomize lines. So average size. So instead of us manually creating the randomized topology, you can just use the Grid Project. As long as the geometry is somewhat angular. Okay. So let's just delete the proxies. Okay, so um, the, we use the creative flow to create the base mesh, and then use a modest amount of random flow on some parts, create some detail, and we have this. Now you can of course apply it, and this is now the real geometry, and you can reestablish the mirror X, Y, and Z, and fix this. If you want to make these squads, this can be easily fixed as squads. For angular stuff, you can just use squad slice and manually repair other parts. Or if you want to just keep it this way and then just triangulate everything and quickly port it over to your uh, game. But of course, you have to bake this into this model. After you've UV this, you can bake this detail or this geometry into this, and also this screw here. You can also do that, and then you'd have with you'd have then you can just use this base mesh, apply the texture maps with the normal maps with these details, and then transfer it to your use it in your scene as a light object or to your game. Okay, so that is it for this video, for this simple demonstration of the upcoming creative flow. So everyone who's bought the creative bundle will of course get this for free, and you will still have a chance to download the legacy, these old tools. I'll provide a link with the bundle. So Alt X, this is Cuber, and this is Ice Tools. And this is the new one, which is Creative Flow. Okay, so that's it for this video. I hope you learned something from watching me work on this crate. And if you have any questions, be sure to use the comment section or the links in the description of the video. Thank you for watching and have a nice day.